Welcome back to BattleTanx, everybody. We are in Las Vegas, specifically on Fremont Street. We've reached the headquarters of the Alliance, and we're trying to get 3 more Queen Lords back to our fortress. However, unlike in previous levels where we kind of took our time and gradually pushed ourselves forward, we're going to be a little more aggressive in this stage. First things first, pick up a radar, get some health pickups, because for what I'm about to do, I will need these. And something else that we're going to pick up while we're here, aside from ammo, is some gun buddies. We're reaching the point in the game now where we can drop these around our fortress, and they'll help act as another line of defense. Actually, you can drop them pretty much anywhere, but unless you're dropping them anywhere beside your fortress, they're probably going to get destroyed really fast. Anyway, we're heading down this particular alley. You can see some of our allied tanks are already moving in on the fortresses. That's not a very good idea. There are some wide open areas and then some little alleys leading into those wide open areas which enemy tanks will come through. So, I don't... Yeah, they're already dead. That did not take long. So what we're doing is we're heading into this small kind of hidden away area because there's a nuke here. We're going to start using the nuke as a means of clearing most of the map. So, I'm going to head a little south of the midpoint of this map. And it looks like some of my friends came to help clear a path for me. But our plan is basically drop the nuke here and run like hell back to our base. The nuke is powerful enough that it will reach all corners of the map. Oh, get out of my way! Yeah, please mill around near where I dropped the nuke. Great. And you're dead. Want to make sure your health is as full as possible when you're running away from the nuke, because otherwise you'll risk destroying yourself and losing whatever items you picked up. Alright, now that I've got the nuke dropped, I'm going to drop some gun buddies inside of my fortress. That'll act as some additional defense. And if you look carefully back at what just happened, sometimes your friendly AI tanks have collision issues with the sides of your fortress, because one of my tanks just went clear through the wall. There will be other times where you'll see them just stop and then move along the wall with their tank halfway through it. That's neither here nor there, though. Now we're going to start moving south and head to this parking lot area where we can find some guided missiles. And you get 3 guesses as to what we're going to use those for. However, we also have cloaking. Let's see, I have 2 lasers. Okay. We're going to have a little fun with this one. As you can see, the Goliath tank is already in pretty bad shape because of the nuke that we dropped. So, I didn't even need to use lasers or swarmers or anything. That's one thing about these fortified bunkers, is that if you're low on health... Thank you, Power Up Lady. You can just hang out around one of them that you know is going to spawn either tanks or the little faster machine gun guys, and just kill them over and over and pick up stars to refill your health. For now, though, we still have this Goliath tank to worry about. Now we don't. We're basically just doing cleanup detail for what's left of the nuclear explosion. So now that we've gotten this, and I'll just go ahead and destroy what's left of that fortress. Now we're going to head all the way to the opposite side of the map for that final fortress, making sure to stay just out of range and sight of the Goliath tank. And we're good. The fortified bunkers, and there are more of them than usual on this stage, are going to continue spitting out tanks, but we should otherwise be fine. We have plenty of power-ups, plenty of health,
rescued.
In fact, there's going to be one guy right over here. Oh, bonus tank. This is one of those levels where you kind of have to play around a little bit and find the location of the nuke if you want to use this strategy before you'll finally get it down. But once you do, you're not really at much risk of losing any extra lives. Oh, how kind of you to spawn directly in front of me.
Queen Lord, power up, rescued.
Actually, there is something kind of funny that I figured out when I was looking at some of the people who were on staff in this game. There's one voice credit for the lady who goes, "Power up!" And she was also a producer on one of the Army Men games. Anyway, final Queen Lord. Now we're heading back to our fortress. This is even easier now because we have a shield covering our tank. That's something else I should have mentioned before, is that when you're at this point in the game, some of the enemies that spawn are randomly going to have shields around them. Our fortress isn't under attack, I was just making room for the other Queen Lords. Oh god, we're under the part-time by a lot. You know what, I'm actually going to speed this up, because I don't think anyone wants to listen to that. And by the way, we're reaching the point where our quote-unquote army is getting so large now, it is starting to encroach on the continue and save and continue options in this menu. And not only that, we have an opportunity to earn more. This time, however, the bonus stage is structured a little differently. They have these walls that are between you and the enemy tanks, and there's also hangars on either side of you which the enemies can also come through. I don't really have a good strategy for any of these. I mean, sometimes I try leaving up certain walls as a way of preventing them from immediately attacking me, but they usually just shoot through the walls anyway. And if you think that this is a little ridiculous for this kind of bonus stage, it gets worse. There is one more bonus stage after this one. I believe it's right before the final level where we try to rescue Madison. I'm not going to spoil what exactly makes it ridiculous. So let's just focus on this bonus stage in front of us right now. My goal with these is always just make it to wave 3. Because that's usually the point when you will get a bonus tank. And I fulfilled my goal. Awesome. Anything beyond this point is just gravy for me. I believe I've mentioned this before, but part of what makes this tricky is that there are little alleys that the tanks will go down. Some of them will go down the alleys almost immediately, which makes it a little hard to gauge where you should start attacking first. This is about as close as you'll see as I get to spray and pray, aside from the final bonus stage. Because I'm not really thinking about this very much. I'm just moving back and forth and having my finger pinned down on the fire button. And somehow, that got me through wave 3. And now it's time for me to face the music. Wave 4. If you look carefully on the radar, you can see some of these guys moving around off to the sides, where I can't reach them as readily because there are a bunch of buildings in the way. And this situation is quickly deteriorating. I didn't even mean to shoot a laser there, it just sort of happened. And just like that, it's over. At first I couldn't tell if that was smoke covering the screen or a tasteful fade to black. And our tanks are continuing to encroach upon the continue and save and continue buttons. But for now, we gotta keep moving forward. Jeez, and I thought that time bonus sound was annoying. Anyway, we're now on the Crimson Gate Bridge, and we are going alone across the bridge. This is a level we have to take very, very slowly. This bridge is absolutely covered with turrets. And there are 3 Goliath tanks, one in front of the other, near the end of the bridge, followed by another wall of turrets. As such, I'm exploring every possible avenue to get every item I possibly can that might be able to help me. The shields in particular, very important for this section. And as you can see, I'm already under fire. However, if I advance too far forward, I'm going to get shot by the turrets on the other side of the bridge. Like this. And one of these little machine gun guys bursts through the wall. And there's a fortified bunker right next to me that is going to continue to spawn those little machine gun guys. Now, there's not a whole lot we can do about that. However, like I mentioned before, if you are running low on health, you can backtrack to here and just kill the machine gun guys as they spawn and get health pickups from them. This is what I use against these particular turrets most of the time. 2 shots and then back away from when they shoot. Now, we definitely want swarmers, lasers, anything we can fire during the delay of our tank shells. And we definitely want grenades, because when we get to the later sections, there's going to be a ton of landmines we have to navigate around. Guided missiles are also going to be key, but not probably in the way you're thinking. We are going to use them against Goliath tanks, however, and I'm going to fast forward through this part, going to do it in a not so ideal location for it. And there's the spawn. I did that less so for the health, and more so it wouldn't spawn while I'm trying to deal with this section. There's a little trick you can use on these turrets. You might have seen it in some of my other videos, where if there's a breakable wall in between you and the turret, it won't shoot at you. You have to be careful though, because there are landmines placed really close to some of the power-ups that are on the other side of these walls. And the thing is, the time that the wall breaks is not just dictated by you. Other turrets can break down those walls as well. Because, you can see, I'm getting shot because one of the other turrets broke down these walls. And I've got to be very careful not to touch those landmines. There are going to be many, many more landmines as the stage progresses. Alright. Should be in good shape so far. Now, as this level goes on, I'm going to try and lean toward the left side of the stage. Not just for these power-ups, which we finally have a radar, thank God. Now it's easier to tell when the smaller guys spawn behind us. However, there's another reason I want to stay along the left side of the stage, and it has to do with the guided missiles. I'll get more into that after I get these pickups. Technically, you really shouldn't pick up the radar if you already have it, you know, in case you get killed. However, I don't anticipate that happening on this stage. Just so long as I'm calm and I don't rush this, I'll be in perfectly good shape. Something else to worry about is there are a couple of bunkers along this bridge that will spawn stuff, other than the fortified bunker we already passed. You can kind of see that little gathering in between the 3 Goliath tanks at the top and those 2 units below it. There's another bunker in that area. Oh, I almost hit that landmine. But a major part of the stage is taking advantage of line of sight with the turrets. They will see you over walls like these. However, with the obstruction next to us, we can kind of shield ourselves from being seen by all of them at once. Of course, one hits me in the back right as I'm rounding the corner. Okay, this is the area I want to go to. Past these landmines, and clear out the turret behind me. Get these power-ups. And now we're going to fire a bunch of guided missiles from this point. And we have a long way to travel with these. And I have to weave at just the right time to get this Goliath tank. There you are. Part of an advantage of having this area as the place you launch guided missiles is those landmines. The AI is not smart enough to be able to maneuver in between them the way we did. So if a tank does come after me, it's either going to mill around on the other side of the structure, or it's going to run into the mines and die. There's another turret just able to see me. And I believe a unit just ran into the mines. Oh, there he is. Wonderful. Anyway, I'm actually going to backtrack a little bit because of these little guys. Now, remember the gun buddies that I picked up before? I am going to use those as a way of, by the way, this is where they are. I'm going to use those as a way of keeping those little machine gun guys from sneaking out behind me while I'm trying to advance further on the bridge. I'm going to give them slight cover with the sides of these walls. And now we can just focus on the road ahead of us, which there's still quite a ways to go. Now, before I do move on to the next area, I want to take out this wall, because there's a bunker behind it. One less thing to worry about. And we have more gun buddies. As the tanks are starting to come after us. It's okay. Still got plenty of items in reserve. Let's see, turret over there. I'm going to use the wall as cover. And you can just barely shoot in between the car and the breakable wall to hit this turret without it being able to shoot you. You can see, all these turrets are not so wisely positioned behind breakable walls. So we can just take them out one by one with not so much worry about all of them ganging up on us. And don't bother destroying that breakable wall behind the barrier. All that there is behind that is another turret. No reason to go after it. Now this is where it gets a little tricky, because we're going to start approaching that gathering of tanks, and you can't shoot guided missiles over the side. I know I said there's no reason to go after this, but I'm in a good place right now, so I'm picking up the extra points. Now you can try going to the right, however there are a bunch of mines there, so you're really better off going to the left. I will freely admit this was a waste of a cloaking device, because I completely forgot about this little intermediate area in between the two. However, it does allow us to have a little fun with these quote-unquote spontaneously combusting barricades leading into this area. Let's see, do I have their attention yet? I don't believe I do. I'm gonna hang back, destroy as much stuff as in the way as possible, and go in cloaked. They won't question the barricades collapsing on themselves. If you want, you can troll them by dropping gun buddies, however they're not going to survive very long. In fact, I'm going to head back before my cloak drops. Now that I have their attention, they're going to come to me, and I can lead them into this little narrow corridor. At this point, it's just an all-out slugfest between one unit at a time, and, well, I'm a lot better equipped than they are. So now we just have the turrets to deal with mainly. I'm going with this one first, because you can't really dodge the laser shots. Okay, that was a mistake. I was trying not to destroy that breakable wall so I could use it as cover. No matter though, I still have 8 health pickups to go through. We've gone through the bulk of the bridge at this point. The hard part is pretty much over. All we have to do now is worry about the 2 remaining Goliath tanks and then the turrets and mines beyond that. And we can do that in a couple of ways because of the items that I still have on me. Now, I am going to take the time to check out these areas off to the side. We have yet more gun buddies. Although I believe the gun buddies that we left back near that fortified bunker are still in good shape. Oh yeah, there is still a spawn point for these tanks, but it's not a fortified bunker, it's just a regular bunker, so don't really need to worry about dropping gun buddies for that. And your bunker's down. Now what I can do is move off to the side and do kind of what I did before with the guided missiles. We've picked up a fair amount of them since then, so I'm going to use my regular tank shots to try and clear some debris so that I have a more direct angle on the... well, okay, guess not. I still have enough that I can clear out the debris, and even if I do run out before I get to the final Goliath, I have enough of an item base that I can just use that to destroy it instead. There. Now, as for this final Goliath tank, I do have some options. I still have 5 guided missiles, so I could try clearing a path and then guiding the missile into it like I did for the other one. I still have a cloak, so I could sneak up on it and then blast it from behind. But I'm not going to do either of those. For one particular reason, there's a shield here. So instead, we're going to brute force our way through the Goliath tank by reflecting its shells back at it. Although I am going to be very careful of the minefield. Although, actually, I can't get really close to it, so this is really more of a shooting gallery now. Ah. It's being stubborn. There. Now, like I said, we're still not done. there's the mines to deal with, and there's also a huge wall of turrets near the back of this area. I'm going to use guided missiles to show you. Yep, they're completely blocking off the exit for this bridge. So I'm going to use guided missiles to take out one of them. I don't have enough to destroy this other one. So instead, I'm going to hit it with these and then take a few shots from distance. Although, okay, now I'm online with it. I won't be able to see if it gets destroyed. So I'm going to advance in along these breakable walls. And you'll see, they turn toward me, but they're not going to shoot me. This one will shoot me if I move over here. And this is how you can properly manage this situation. I still have some gun buddies I can drop, if I really want to. But I gotta be very careful not to touch these mines. It may seem like I'm being overly cautious with this, but it is really easy to make a mistake that gets yourself killed and force you to go all the way back to the beginning of the bridge. And it's not so much the turrets as it is the landmines, because those things do serious damage. And the worst of the mines are not actually here. They're at that gate and slightly beyond. As you're about to see once I move out of here. I do have hand grenades on me. However, you've seen how well those work as far as like aiming, because sometimes it'll go like off to the left, off to the right. You can't throw it over objects. And this is just so I can get the extra tank. Not that I need it at this point, but it's a nice little bonus. And that was me accidentally setting a landmine underneath me, and then almost not moving away from it in time. This is where we have to be very careful. Okay, we made it. Whew. Oh geez, I'm fast forwarding the time bonus, screw that. I really don't need to sit through all of that again. But I am going to sit through the growth of my army and continuing to watch it encroach on the continue and save and continue options. But next time on BattleTanx, we'll visit the wharf, and then we'll finally track down where Madison is.